Stream. Do we have a stream? It appears that we do. Let's double check Twitch. All right. Do we have sensitivity? Yeah. Okay. And YouTube is Twitch live with full volume. Gee, thanks. All right. And do we have? I don't know if we can set a game title. Yes, we do. Sweet. All right, that should be it. So, yesterday I did a whole bunch of cleanup together with Mark TechFan on a Discord chat in private to clean up some of the hotkey handling. Now, there was one thing I noticed, and that's kind of the last thing I want to do, is that the temporary hotkeys for the other features work like this. But when I'm set on the hold Alt for letters, if I'm holding Alt, it doesn't actually switch. So I'm gonna try to see if I can toggle this secondary mode in the same kind of way. And that was, I think, the last thing I was working on yesterday evening. But then I got tired and I couldn't manage. So here I'm logging out the different things that are involved. So I think disable enable is where this button gets added or removed. So enable gets called frequently. That's interesting. Where does enable get called from? Enable. Handle tool enter. Oh, okay. As we're changing. All right. So we probably shouldn't call this if we can avoid it. All right. So we gotta go to our hotkey handling up here. So in other words, we kind of want to pull this thing forward. Right. So at this point, when I'm pressing Alt, what do we get? So we get a key here, and we get a double toggle mode. And this toggle mode comes from where? Tool enter enable. So how do we check if we're currently enabled? I guess we couldn't have a variable that we're keeping track of. The problem is we don't know when that button might get removed. But let's just do this. This dot is enabled false, right? And then we can just do enable. This dot is enabled true. This dot enabled equals false. This way around, I guess. And then if dot enabled turn. If not this dot enabled turn. Now if we output these, it shouldn't be as big of a deal. Did I just hear a stutter there? All right. So I'm pressing Alt and I'm not getting those things spammed. All right, cool. So we're now hitting this function. And what if we do p.handle key event like this, so we can handle toggle key, and that's really just this thing. Like that. And then this should be p.handle toggle key, I think. Just like that. And then this whole thing goes to there. Should have done this ages ago. Why didn't I do this sooner? Much more organized. All right. And then it'll be key handlers p dot handle key. And I think this assignment should work. Ooh, I don't know actually. I don't actually know what this will be here. So if I do this, and then we'll do c.name, this, and event. And we'll do the same thing here for handle key. Oop. What does that look like? So, alt, 2-letter. All right, so it looks like this reference works fine here. Yeah, okay. Don't actually need that. So when I'm pressing Alt in Alt letter mode, I want it to kind of... So if I press Control and then press Alt, it should toggle the other part, right? So if we get to... So let me see. How do we know if we should be changing 2-letter mode? All right, so let's change it here. And all right, so we'll output these two. Is enabled and letter mode. Hey Mark, how you doing? Hey Friar, not a new key. I just want it, the UI to reflect kind of what's going on a little bit better, because right now it's a little confusing, if not outright wrong. All right, so letter mode is false. So the first step now is to actually detect what's happening, right? And we cannot exit out early for that. We do have to do this first, which is going to be a little bit annoying. All right, let's move these up here maybe. No, let's move them in here. And let's rename them according to the values in the listing. And then this whole thing needs to happen up here before we're exiting out for the letter. There's a choice, Alt Shift or just any key or no key. Like you can even have a mode where you don't have to press any hotkey for it. The problem with that is, of course, that then certain hotkeys won't work anymore, like Control-Z won't work. Actually, Control-Z still will work. ZXCV won't work. And in fact, that option is also currently available for testing. So I need to do a video. I want to do a video this weekend, kind of explaining the different modes and asking people to kind of test it and, you know. So let me do this separately here and see if I can simply set a flag should we switch mode. And that basically depends currently if we're not in letter mode. If we're not in letter mode, right? Because this case here is for the final key press, when you're actually pressing the letter. And it needs to deal with all the other things that have happened before. This part should only deal with the hotkey itself. So let's kind of do this for a second and kind of take a closer look what's going on here. Because, for example, no hotkey obviously won't do a temp swap. And maybe, you know, no hotkey will simply not work if we're not enabled currently. All right. I'm trying to think. If we're not in letter mode, we should always just exit out. So if not this dot letter mode return. Just do nothing. Just completely ignore this processing. So I can do whatever, press Alt Shift all I want, Alt C, Alt D. This won't work, right? Except, of course, that's not what we want. We want to see if we want to switch into letter mode. All right. But of course, we only want to switch if we're not already in letter mode. So let switch to letter mode was false. So here we're going to do if I think I'm going to represent this as a longer statement. So if any of these are true, we want to switch. So if false, or letter enter mode equals alt letter, and alt pressed. Is this enough? I think this should be enough. I'm just thinking right now, the problem is if we're not actually pressing the alt button. So for example, if we're in color mode, we don't have a letter tool. So pressing alt shouldn't do the switch. But then if I press Control afterwards, it should. So I need to determine also which mode we're getting into eventually, which is going to be a little complex. So what is the alt hotkey mode? And I have to remind myself. Alt for other hotkeys. So if it's alt hotkey mode, we don't actually, we never switch, right? So we only switch with alt mode, shift hotkey mode. With no hotkey mode, we also don't switch. Yeah, so these are actually the only two modes where we might do a temp switch. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. So what does that look like? So if I'm here and I press Alt, switch to letter mode is true. Switch to letter mode. Switch to letter mode, switch to letter mode. Shift, switch to letter mode. Okay, so what I would like to do is that if we're in color mode and you're pressing Alt, it does this, but goes into letter mode. Or should I limit it to Shift in this case? Maybe I should limit it so Alt doesn't work here, because then you choose which hotkey you want to use, and then the other one works as normal. So at the point of pressing the button, we basically... man, this is actually complicated. We need to see, like, we should do this only once when that particular button is pressed. Or when we see that the button is pressed and we're not in that right mode. So it also means... we also need to be in a tool with letters right now. So if is tool with letters, so in color it doesn't do this basically. And these or these or these. And false for this or this or this. Right. So now in color, is tool with letters, switch to letter mode is false. But if I'm here, switch to letter mode is true. So let's see what that would look like. If switch to letter mode, this dot And I think it's just toggle mode, right? What is update? Why did I call it update? Update. Where am I using update here? Update, disable, update, update, update. So we have toggle mode. So set letter mode. So instead of update, it's going to become set letter mode, which is a lot more clear. All right, no more updates. All right. Let's leave that in. All right. So now set letter mode to true should do the trick. So if I press shift, nothing. If I press alt, it should toggle. But then the trick is at this point, we should ignore the other part, right? The yada yada. What's the word? Pressing alt at this point should not switch to center. It should wait for shift. But we'll get to that in a bit. And we'll only switch if we're not already in letter mode, right? Now the question is, okay, how do we determine if we want to exit here? I think we do this here. It should not do the second toggle, right? So if I go here, press Alt and then A, what happens? Alt letter A. If not this dot letter mode and let's run true and let's do this. So if I go here, so I'm pressing Alt and then pressing A. That's a bit weird. What's going on here? Alt A. And then it toggles to here. I need to actually look at what key press is happening, I think, here, which is a little sucky. Because if I press Alt 1, this doesn't work properly. All right, let's see where we're exiting out. We're exiting out in a couple of different places here. Basically, we need to figure out what the return value is early on and then keep using it everywhere. So, so if I do this and then do return res everywhere, And then we want to do some of this hotkey processing higher up. So instead of switch to letter mode here, we'll do a switch case after all, because it's going to get a little complicated. We can simplify it afterwards. Hey, GeoChessa, good morning. Thanks for joining. Well, good morning. It's late, mid-evening, mid-afternoon here, late afternoon, I guess. All right. So here, basically, we need to say if alt letter is pressed, we definitely need to return true. We don't want to do additional processing because we're now in letter mode and everything letter mode related happens here. And we don't allow any other... Yeah, like if you press Control Alt Z, for example, it shouldn't undo. You need to release the Alt key and then you can do other things, right? So, res equals alt pressed, and then shift equals res equals shift pressed, and that basically means when res is true, it means stop other processing, right? So the standard hotkeys should no longer happen. Yeah, so now I can do alt control and Z. Ugh, control Z. What the heck? So alt control Z. Alt letter Z, true, false, true is enabled letter mode, switch letter mode true. Two letter disable. And I think I'm doing a bunch of silly things down here. I think I need to kind of control these a little bit better up here. I think it's this stuff down here that's throwing me off. Are we calling change tool? Let's see if these are actually getting called. Because I don't know exactly what's changing to the color tool. This should be an info. So, Control Alt Z. So we did not switch tool here. So that means the tool switching happened in here. One sec. Ugh. Actually, let's do this so I don't forget to remove it afterwards. So if I do this, Alt Control Z. Change tool. Key up. I'm not interrupting key up. Wait a second. But why would key up change anything here? Alt Control Z. Color true. It's doing a change, a temp change on key up. I did not think that's how it would work. Oh my god, why am I looking at this? So, key handlers on key up. I'm doing this. Why do I do it? I think this was some sort of crappy hack to make something work. Yeah, I think there was a problem where the key down event was missed out on. Ah, how annoying. Hey Mark, hacking is back. I don't even think custom event handlers are run for key down at the moment. I mean, I probably should. Handle tool key handlers. Call port if handle tool key handlers. Key handlers. Should we because now I'm not distinguishing key up and key down. If I fire them both, then any... Because now I basically want to execute key up and key down handlers separately. With a little bit of... I think this is the only place where this is called, yeah. Because I have two different ways of handling events now, and the API is a bit garbage. Because I have the API with the key handlers, and then I have the API with these general event handlers, right? Where do these happen? Handle tool exec handler. So if I execute this as well, then the question becomes obviously, how do I decide if we're exiting or not? Tool exec handler. Handler name args. Turn true. Turn false. Tool. Trigger tool. Why is tool exit handler always returning true? Are we using this return value anywhere? If return false, call. Why does it always return true? It returns true if it found a handler. Do press digit, handle tool button. Basically, this one lets you either... Okay, so this is a bit of a problem. Like, basically, it returns true if no handler was, if a handler was found and executed. It returns false otherwise. So the one place I'm using that is here, where I don't fire the activation. Okay, so this is, yeah. So I need to change this to work like the key handlers. So instead of returning this, we want to return that. And then it's up to the tool handlers. So change tool, for example, doesn't get interrupted, right? And it's up to the tool handler to return true if they don't want other stuff to get executed. So a handle tool button. Where is that being used? It's probably just used in one place. In the replay thing, right? So then here we want to do return true. Basically, that's the change we'll have to do, I think. And now we can use tool exec handler, which is really the API that I should use. Except I think the key API is a bit different because it is, yeah. One of the problems with the key API is that it's running it for all tools, not just the current tool. So the idea was that I can have a tool that's not the current tool capture key presses. Because the letter tool is not actually in the tool rotation, right? So it's basically just a plugin. So man, I need to clean this up. I should have a cleaner API where there are two kinds of things. Things that is just like the primary tool, and then kind of just forwarding events, interruptible events similar to this. Like a hybrid between this and the other one. All right. I think what I want to do is pass in a string. So handle tool event. Handle tool event. Forwarding. Event name. Event. And then here we'll do if this.handle tool event forwarding key down event turn. And this basically instead of looking at tool.keyHandlers, it checks if, instead of doing all of this, it just checks if there's an event handler of this name on that tool. I think this will work. So for each tool, if type of tool handle event name, we have a function we'll call the handler in this fashion. Handler call type of, so let handler equals type of handlers function. Then we call this one with the arguments and we merge it into our abort event thing here. And that's it. So, all right. And then we should be able to do the same thing for key up. Update keys. We probably want to do this before. Yeah, because we don't actually need any of that stuff for these. And then yeah. We'll do tool.name, I think that's enough. I think that should be enough. Let's see what that gets us. So I go here, Alt, I think these should happen afterwards. So boom, Alt. Okay, we don't reach there because we haven't actually created any of these handlers yet. Fair enough. All right. Okay, so this happens and it's trying to execute key down. So if we do a key.handle key down, and we'll do the same thing for key up, so we can see both. See and verify that they're working and getting passed through, and nothing is kind of going crazy and whatnot. So if I go here, press Alt, with a key down, and I release Alt, and we get a key up. Okay. And then we'll get the change tool from the app. So now if I return true here, it should interfere with that. I need to come up with a better API, that's for sure. Okay, down, up, and no tool change happened. Okay, now of course it's the responsibility of these handlers. Excuse me. The responsibility of these handlers to know what to return according to if they want to handle that key or not. So in this case, we basically check for our letter entry mode. And do that here. And the end, so the event, 1 sec, my news is getting... Like, as soon as I start streaming, I get allergic to, I don't know, sitting here and working, I guess. Getting hot as well. So, we need to look for this part and, you know, a bunch of other things. The problem is simulated key events, but I think for now, I think we can just look at type. So, event.type and event.key. So is key the one that's consistent? Because obviously we have, let's say, left shift, right shift. So that's key. Left alt, left alt, and right alt. Ugh. Okay. Well. I'm just gonna hard code it for now. Make this thing work, and then hopefully in the future refactor this whole mess. So letter mode equals alt letter. This stuff is not simple. So letter mode is alt enter, and event type equals key up dot match key. And equals alt letter, and let's front load this, and event dot, so which one did we say for alt? Key code alt right dot code dot match the alt right. All right. So this would be the condition for the alt configuration. And then for shift, it'll be like this, I believe. So shift false, alt, Wonderful Boolean logic, right? So so Alt, and we don't need to do that. It's just going to be, oh, we don't want to do that either, because that's just going to be crazy spammy. So Alt, true, Shift, false. Shift, false, false on key letter entry mode. Oh yeah, that's because we only set up for key up for now. Shift, false. Shift, false. Shift, key, code, match, shift, match. So event.type is key up. Oh yeah, because letter entry mode is not shift letter. Okay, and so if we go to shift for letters and then press shift, it'll be true. Okay. So if either one of these combinations is true, and this part is common to both, right? So we can do this, and then that, or okay. So if it's a key event, and then we have the Alt or the Shift combination, then we want to return this whole thing. Okay, so you can just literally just return that. And it basically will tell our setup not to do anything else. Now the problem is I could move all of this into this one, but then it would not get past that line. It would never execute this code. And why did I delete that? I don't know. I just did. So we're in shift mode, so shift shouldn't do anything. All right. The other issue, oh man, I think I'm starting to worry that the proper way of doing it would be to remove those hotkeys from these, but I don't like to have different tools interacting with each other. Like I don't want the letter tool to reach into the other tools and reconfigure them. Especially since there's no real configuration, it would be all hard-coded crap. So right now I basically have to hold an iron grip over every interaction and basically cancel out whenever I'm detecting something I need to be doing. The sad thing is, it means I'm almost manually handling kind of the temp switching and all that stuff. Which is not great. And right now I'm not even hooking into the settings event. So if the setting is changed at runtime, I'm not actually getting notified. So this could get really messy really fast. Because this only handles when I'm actually pressing Alt. So if I press Alt and then Control, sorry, Shift. So it's handling Shift, but now I'm pressing Control. It kind of goes all wonky on me, right? You see it changed mode there when it shouldn't have. So just trying to think. Is there a way around it? No, I don't think there's a better way of doing this. This is terrible. And I'm just realizing I basically have to replicate a lot of the other interactions. And even then they won't work properly. Because the moment because if I just let it go and say, oh, okay, you're pressing control now, maybe you want to switch modes, the mode switch won't realize that Alt is no longer a thing, right? Like I cannot modify permanently the state of Alt. All right, let's see if it can hook into the settings stuff. Because the other way of doing it is to literally change how the other tools behave according to the settings. And to do that effectively, we need to detect when the settings are changed. Man, this should be a simple thing, and it's so complicated, which means my underlying APIs are no good. So if we're changing a setting, there should be an event fired toggle setting, right? So that means if on init we hook into toggle setting, and then do off here, then we'll handle toggle setting fairly low down here. And what are we passing through here? Name val, pre-val, okay. Well. Let's just see what that looks like. And I think this should fire on startup as well, except it might fire before this thing happens, so... it does not. So we have two-letter mode, and if I change two-letter mode, this gets fired. Okay. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, if it's anything but the mode we're interested in, just hop out. And now basically we need to kind of do a little bit of fine tuning, and this is, I'm gonna regret this later. So if, well, Alt letter. So basically what I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna replace these functions. Yeah. Where's the best place to do that actually? Add tool, app.tool. So I guess I have tools on the app. Oh man, I'm gonna regret this. I don't think I can just loop through it and search for it, because these are functions, right? So framework.app. So tools dot object dot entries tools dot for each name tool and then tool dot temp key. Let's see what that looks like. Oh man, am I gonna do what I'm thinking about doing? Because what I could do is, and I don't know if this is gonna be a crazy security risk or something. F2 temp key, toString. And what if I do this? Because then I can do a search and replace on the function body. Can I execute this thing? I mean, it's returning something, right? If I do update keys, I think I have to send events in there, an event in there. What if I do this to test it? Control pressed true, Alt pressed true, Shift pressed false. Yeah, this is going to take a lot longer than I thought it would. I completely misjudged the complexity of this. Very simple task. Only because I want to do it properly, to be fair. So. It's still returning undefined. Now that's interesting. Why is it returning undefined? New function. Am I misunderstanding how a new function works? Do I have to tell it what arguments to expect? I've used this before, but a long time ago. Create function, new function. This X refers to global. I don't think I can actually. I don't think I can actually do that, right? Yeah. Okay, never mind. I'm going down a rabbit hole. I shouldn't be doing this. There is basically three functions I need to worry about, and it's corner, center, color. All right. So corner, center, color. So corner, center. Don't judge me for my mixed British American spelling, please. Corner, center, color. All right. This should be a little bit saner. And now I'm thinking I'm just going to do it super hard-coded. So we care about thou. So switch thou. And we have alt letter. And those are the only two we care about. All right. And then alt letter, what we're going to change is dot corner dot temp key equals, and we're just going to give it a new function. basically, yeah, let's do the default first. So we'll have corner, we'll have center, and we'll have color. So these are our default functions. That's what they get reset if we're not in one of these special modes. Otherwise, if we're in Alt letter mode, we're just gonna remove Alt pressed from here. And if they are in Shift mode, we're gonna remove Shift pressed from there. And that should be it, I wanna say. So that means now pressing Alt, but we're in Shift mode, right? No, we're not in either mode. I made a mistake. Unexpected string, line 185. Case. I don't think default needs a case, right? So Alt doesn't do anything. Shift switches. Now if I change to Shift mode, Alt switches Shift doesn't do anything. And if I now switch to any of the other modes... Okay, so this will now avoid a whole bunch of other complexity elsewhere. I'm not crazy happy about this. But, you know. The other thing I could do is I could literally statically replace these functions with a reference to the setting. Data entry mode. This might actually be much better. So if instead of doing this, the only problem is if additional tools are added or removed at runtime, this will all break down. So this has to be a super temporary thing. Oh dear. So if I do this, and I replace these with if I say, let's see, so Alt pressed, I only care about if we're not in the Alt mode. So if we're in Alt letter mode, I don't care about Alt pressed. So const get Alt Shift. Get Alt Shift. All right. And now I can say letter entry mode. Well, we can do if letter entry mode equals Alt letter. So get Alt Shift is return letter entry mode equals Alt letter and Shift pressed, right? Or let's do this. Right? So let's just change this to be a bit shorter. How about that, right? So if mode equals Alt letter and Shift, or mode equals Alt letter The thing is, if mode is alt letter and shift is not pressed, it'll move on to this clause, which we don't want. If mode equals alt letter, shift letter, and alt, yeah. I mean, to be honest, something like this, I should replace all of these by this anyways. Or even have these as function calls, then I don't have this kind of problem. This almost smells of self-modifying code. Yeah, monkey patching. I don't need ors here. I need if else's, right? If what equals alt letter return shift. Boom, done. Exit. If mode equals alt letter. If mode equals shift letter, return alt. Done. Else return alt or shift. That's what we need. And then I can replace these guys with get alt shift, which now should resolve everything. It should all be closured, etc., etc. And then I don't have to do this gibberish here. Alt shift. Hold alt for hotkeys. Hold alt for letters. Control shift, control alt. Control alt, control alt shift. Now, control alt shift should work, but I think the code I added before is preventing that. So I can now get rid of this. This is no longer required at all. And this is much less code and it'll be more reliable. And I think this will work. The only other sort of consideration here is what if the tool itself isn't even enabled, right? Because basically, I should have a few more checks in here, such as it shouldn't do that when I'm not in the letter mode. The problem is, if I'm not in letter mode, this is exactly what I want, where I want alt to switch to the letter mode. It's more about if the tool itself is not enabled. If I do this, and I don't know if done, then execute. So we probably want to do also a cop out if the tool itself isn't enabled. No, not enabled. If this is what's the other thing? God damn it. So we basically want to do this mode and two-letter tool. Now this actually might be executed quite a few times. Tool mode. Let's see. Wait, I'm not seeing. Ah, because the tool isn't enabled. It's not even. No. Letter mode. It's enabled letter mode. No, get alt shift. Where is it? Alt. It's enabled get. I'm not seeing it. Does init not get called properly? So we get an init here, and now if I press Alt, because of the code I wrote earlier, that's already doing a bit of escaping here, which now I don't actually want. This is a bit of a mess. So, Alt. Okay. Shift, true alt letter. Now if I disable the tool, I think that code is still running, but now that's false. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. If tool, if not tool, we also want to escape early. Oh, let's just do it here. More explicitly so. All right. Oh, my nose is itchy. All right. All right. Change tool, change tool, change tool. Too much log spam, I can't think. It's too noisy. So the event forwarding, we're actually not going to be using it now, so I might remove it again. I mean, it's an API that I can leave in, but it's not actually being exercised and tested, so I'm a bit wary of that. All right, enable tool letter, hold Alt, and now if I press Alt, it doesn't do that anymore. So it fixes that particular problem, basically. So now we can go back to here. Now we don't have to do all this gibberish. And now we can do about the kind of temp switching here. The question is, do we really want temp switching? That's the other question now, right? All right, so is handle key up, alt letter, handle key up, app.handle key up, handle key down, handle key up. All right, less spam. So we don't really want to check alt pressed. We want to check. It's like, should I build a whole second level of temp tooling? Because obviously, if it switches when you're pressing Alt, you expect it to switch back when you're... Yeah, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do the whole hog. So basically, if not letter mode... All right. Let's do this. Switch. We're gonna get rid of that. We'll do that. Switch. Temp switch. Temp switch. And temp switch only happens if we're not in letter mode. And if Alt is pressed, right? And we don't really care if this is the event where we're pressing Alt. False, false, true. Is enabled. Temp switch, true. Temp switch, true. Shift, temp switch, false. And if we're in letter mode, temp switch false. Now the one problem here is that when you're in letter mode, it still expects you to press Alt. So it's almost like maybe we shouldn't have this toggle button at all anymore, Mark. Because basically, right now, the user might think they don't have to press Alt anymore. If they press A, it'll just do A. But in fact, they still have to press Alt. So maybe we don't even have this toggle, and you're just pressing Alt to toggle to this mode. Let's move on before I get myself down another rabbit hole. In fact, I need to go shopping for dinner, and I was supposed to go to the pharmacy, and I started too late, as usual. All right, let's see what we can do quickly. So, if we're temp switching, if temp switch, then this dot temp switch equals true, right? And we'll also say and this dot temp switch if not. So we don't want to temp switch if we're already in not temp switched. Although actually no, we don't care. If we're not in letter mode, we need to go into letter mode, right? So this temp switch is true. This letter mode, true. Right? So boom. So we're not in letter mode. I'm pressing Alt. Now, problem is this code does not execute again because it doesn't have a key up handler, right? So we actually don't want to do that there. We will probably want to do it in these guys, right? So we'll do this again. Key down. And letter entry mode. So handle key down, temp switch true. Let's disable this thing here for a moment here. And see if we can make just the temp switch work in isolation. And we probably need something like this again. And then if temp unswitch. If not this, if this letter mode and this dot temp switch. Let's do it with letters app and false letter entry alt and alt pressed. Boom. True. Temp unswitch false. So temp switch, temp unswitch false. Why is it false? We should have letter mode, we should have temp switch, we should have this tool with letters, we should have this. All right, so clear, press Alt, release Alt. Handle key up. Letter mode is false. That's just not true because we just switched to letter mode. Letter mode. Set letter mode. Toggle mode. Letter mode. Toggle mode, set letter mode. Set letter mode. Wait. Set letter mode doesn't actually change the letter mode. That's stupid. This needs to be in here. And then here, we'll do this. If letter mode is undefined, letter mode, toggle letter mode. Okay. So Alt release. Letter mode is true. Temp switch is true. Is tool with letters is true. Letter entry mode is Alt. Temp unswitch is false. That seems wrong. If letter mode and temp switch and is tool letter true, 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 true. Letter entry mode is Alt letter and Alt pressed. I guess Shift and Alt are not what's happening here. Of course, because they're not pressed anymore at this point. I think that means we have to actually run this handler before we update the keys. Otherwise, we're in the wrong place in the flow. So, temp unswitch is true. Okay, that's a good start. But it didn't actually temp unswitch, right? Ah, yes, because I'm not actually doing anything there. So, temp unswitch, false, set letter mode, false. Now, the only problem here is... Ah, yeah, no, because I was thinking if we're already in letter mode, but that should already have been handled. So we should never temp switch when we're already in letter mode. Okay, Shift does nothing. Oops. So if I change to hold Shift for letters, does that. Okay. And if I toggle, it shouldn't do anything. All right. So that, so far it's working. All right. So now the tricky bit is to make all the other stuff work. Yikes. And this is like a lot of code. So what do we do? What if we say switch mode, we remove these two, and then we'll say if switch mode and this letter mode and this temp switch. And then we'll do the same thing here. We'll call this switch mode, remove this, and then we'll say if not, we don't care about that. If switch mode and not this letter mode. Then this code will be the same once we remove that. Didn't I just? Right. All right, and we can do like switch temps can temp switch. I don't think it's using event anyway, so it's not pass event. And then we can just return this. And we are using Alt pressed, Shift pressed, and that. All right. And then we can do this.can temp switch instead of switch mode. And then we can get rid of all of this, I believe. And that's much neater. So now pressing Alt should do that. And Alt Shift. Oh no. Why does it switch to centering? Ah! Is it this function here? And get Alt Shift. If tool mode, return Shift. If Alt letter, it should return if the Shift value is pressed. Alt or Shift. It should never. It doesn't have a negative condition, right? Let's see if change tool fires. Settle mode, handle key down, change tool corner. True. Change tool corner, true. These buttons should be in the right locations, but they're not. Pretty sure the letters should be in the corners. So toggle mode, set letter mode, text contents, buttons, digits. Change tool, corner, true. Oh, I thought, hey Mark, I thought we had that done already. Are these not respecting the positioning? So the 4 is positioned in corner mode via, oh, because it's data value 4, and then I go, and then it's no longer data value 4. Ay. So data value equals 4. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. Can we do CSS match data regex? Is there a way of adding a list of items in here? I kind of don't like that because it means I have to update the CSS every time I do stuff. Wait a second. Do we have CSS for the letter tool? No. That's what we really should be doing. CSS match data several values. What's the syntax for multiple attribute value? Seriously. What is the syntax? No. Isn't there like a regex match or something? Ending with elements href containing, with the href matching elements whose class contains the word logo. Value, operator value I, adding an I or I before the closing character because the value to be compared cases. Value S, attribute operator, attribute prefixed by value, suffixed. Consider is exactly value. White space separated list of words. Is a white space separated list of words, one of which is exactly. Okay, so I think that should work. So if I do this and then add, you know, A here, I think it's capital A, right? Oh, I'm keeping the title. That's also dodgy. All right, let's just do these quickly. I always say quickly, and then I do a ton of things, and it takes me forever. B, C, E, E, oh, G, H, and I. I guess the 0 doesn't get moved. Nope. Oh, great. I've just broken it. That's what happened. Represents the elements with an attribute name of whose value is a whitespace separated list of words, one of which is exactly a whitespace separated list with an attribute name of attribute. Squiggly equals. It doesn't have an example. Of course it doesn't. All this in US English are blue. All this without a la. In US. Oh, it's the other way around? Alright, don't have the time to waste. So I'm guessing we'll just have to do this longer version. And this time I'm gonna test if it works before I do all of them. So it breaks the one. Comma separated. I have to repeat the whole thing, huh? You know what? If I'm gonna do that, I'd rather duplicate this block, because then I can move it more easily into a separate file. So if I do this, I guess that'll work. All right. Oof. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, E. Where did the F go? I thought there wasn't a J. I was like a bit surprised when I got to J. All right. So now, if I'm here, I'm pressing Alt, and I'm pressing Shift. Alt, Shift, release Shift. I think my up handler needs to make sure. Oh, is this because it messes with... Oh man, stupid browsers. You sure about commas to separate it? Let's see. If I change this to blank and then 1, comma A. Or do you mean just for the, like, replicating this whole string? Because that I know about. It's not really great. Yeah, no. Oh man, I think Alt Shift reports that the Alt like if I'm pressing Alt and Shift, it probably reports that the Alt button is not pressed, which is of course rubbish, right? So if we do event.type, event.key, event.code. So if I now press Alt, why is that positioning wrong now? Oh, because I removed the A here. All right. So the idea is I'm here, I'm pressing Alt, and I'm pressing Shift, and I'm releasing Shift, and it's leaving our letter mode. And the last time we had key up, Shift, Shift left. But we also want to see so app.alt pressed app.shift pressed. All right, I'm gonna have to cut this short since I need to go shopping for some food. So Alt Shift, release the Shift. Alt and Shift are both pressed. Oh, I'm an idiot. So can temp switch here is looking at Alt pressed and Shift pressed. So it's basically saying we're on this should be inverted. If we're temp switched and we cannot switch right now, that's when we should unswitch. So Alt-Shift, remove Alt. And that fails as well. Why does that fail? So Alt-Shift, release Shift, and now release Alt. Can temp switch, true, true, true. App, true, false. Oh, I'm an idiot. So, because I moved this to happen after the keys are updated. So either I do this, I'm already worrying about compatibility for stuff I've never even done before. So Alt-Shift, yeah. So if I'm here, I'm pressing Alt, I'm pressing Control, Shift, release Alt. So that's kind of what I have in mind. So I'm holding down Control and pressing Shift and Control, and I'm releasing Alt and pressing Shift Control. Now with color, it does a weird thing, but it's almost correct. And almost correct is what we strive for here. That's the best. It's really almost correct. It's kind of the best you can ever hope for, really. All right. I had that bug report from Rosa Vines in the chat, and I wanted to look at that today as well. In fact, I played this earlier today. And I'm guessing... what's going on here? Oh, isn't that already fixed in temp? Test. So if I check now, it's all good. And if I remove one and check, it's all good. What the heck? Oh man. The computer freezes up just long enough to not notice that I've released the mouse button. It's so annoying, and then it drags the whole tab. All right. Features. Check conflicts. Cages. If ops check conflict. Features equals, if this is true, it's cages, otherwise it's those. Check conflicts is true, therefore it should be cages. What's going on here? We're not hitting this check function? What's going on? Oh, we're not hitting check here. The heck? Oh, wait, we're not on my local computer. So if I'm pressing check here, it's hitting this, and somehow thinks everything is fine. Errors, puzzle check, features. So puzzle check. So the features we can check is cells, cages, solution. And it doesn't find any frickin' errors. Is it because... Uh-oh, I have a worry here. What if there's a faulty solution? No, it has a solution. Okay, this is a bit bizarre then. So we're hitting the checker. We're hitting check solution. When did this break? We have a solution. We presumably have min-max. Hey, and if it's held no whatever state on each key pressed or released transition to a new state with new definition of what pressing releasing any modified. In no modifiers press state. Like you're in no modifiers press state, and each key pressed or released transitions to a new state with new definitions of what pressing, releasing, any yeah. Well, no, it should work. I don't know why it doesn't work. I obviously broke something some while ago. All right, so we have a min max. Right, so let's see. So we're looping through each cell. Okay, so what we got? We've got a row, a column, we have found, and we have expected. All right. Boom. So 0, 0, we found, expected is 0. Found is not equal to 0. If found is not equal to 0 and expected is not equal to 0, and found is not equal to expected. So 0 means it's not filled in. So it ignores filled in values. Oh my god, it ignores filled in values for the solution check. Okay, but then okay, so the solution check I understand then. There's nothing wrong. So if I put in something that shouldn't be there and now I check. Yeah. But the other checks should still fail. Like what the hell? Or does it prioritize the solution check? And if that one passes, no, it's doing all of them. So it should check cells. So it should hit check cells here. And so let's hide this spam here for a sec. Oh, I shouldn't be mixing two different tasks either. All right, so check cells. And let's hide this as well. And this as well. Check cells. Puzzle cells filter for each errors push. Ah, it has a ton of errors. Oh, the errors are reset here, like an idiot. Why am I resetting the errors length here? Ah. I think what happened was, the idea was that you could provide a solution to the puzzle that was contrary to Sudoku rules. So it should override all other errors. But then, in the solution check, I'm not checking cells that aren't filled in. Because I'm also using it for a conflict check, and it shouldn't show a conflict on a non-filled in cell. So those two things are not compatible. What I don't understand is how it wasn't an issue till now. So this we do need. Yeah. And it finds a ton of errors, right? Now, if I put a 2 here, or a 1, and I check, it's not a conflict. But it might be a conflict against the solution. Yeah, so the solution doesn't actually mark the cells as a problem. The problem is this will not allow empty cells in the grid, which means it cannot check special kinds of puzzles. Ah, this is so annoying. Found equals 0. Not sure where you saw that. I think that, yeah, you meant the not equals 0, right? I can't have it all ways, right? It's a bit of a problem. Ah, wait a second. So the solution, if expected is not equal to 0, found equals expected. Yeah, the problem is I want to do two things. I want to allow solutions that have some cells set to 0, i.e. not filled in. But at the same time, I also want to allow to check a puzzle that isn't completed and not get conflict checks against the solution. Yeah, but you see, Mark, I don't want to mark cells that you've entered that don't have a conflict. What if I only do this? So you're basically saying, okay, we should do this, right? Doesn't look quite right. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, right? Okay, so it doesn't actually mark them in the solution check. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I think I wanted to have sort of partial solution checking capabilities. Oh man, I'm sure there was some sort of edge case that will break when I change this. That's the problem, you know? It's like, I don't remember why I did this way. And if I change it to do the sensible thing that looks right, it's very possible that I'm just bulldozing over work I've done in the past and, you know, spending time relearning a lesson that I had already learned previously. Ah, man. And I don't really want to merge something in that could have bigger issues while I'm trying to finalize something without introducing other big errors, you know what I mean? I'm just cleaning up some of this stuff. 3750. Yeah, I need to stop because people are coming home and I need to take care of some things. All right. Well, we got the hotkey working more or less, but now of course I broke the actual functionality. So that I need to put in. I need another stream. I'll do that tomorrow. It kind of sucks because I was hoping to clean this up yesterday and then today get working on the editor again. Now it's been 2 weeks since I've stopped working on the editor, so it's getting a bit dicey. But this tool needs to be finished. I want this to be rock solid. I want this to be a sort of a full member of the team ASAP if I can make it do. And I think it'll enable a lot of new things, just like the color tool. When I first added multicolors, people were like, you know, nobody was using it. What was that all about? And now it's like everybody uses it all the time, you know. Either get a solution object and check against that, including highlight empty cells unless they're empty in the solution object and check against that. If it does not get that object, then it should check for only the Sudoku rules. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it does, right? So it has a couple of different kinds of checks. So the checker, where is it? it checks against solution, against cages, and against cells, right? So these are the kinds of checks it currently can do. It can do a full solution check. It can check against killer cages with sums, where given. But it will not check just whatever value it is, because it doesn't know if it is a sum, right? I think it only does that for cages that are imported from fpuzzles, because CTC doesn't actually know if it's a multiplication or a product or whatever. All right, I gotta get running. I'm running late. Thank you very much for hanging out. It helps to get a second pair of eyeballs on. So your comments are super appreciated, or really appreciate the input and stuff, because quite often like I can't see the code for all the code. So thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate it. And, the usual places, check, they're all summed up at svencodes.com, but of course there is patreon.com/svencodes, and of course this YouTube channel. I appreciate any kind of subs and so on. And yeah, the letter tool should, by next week, it should be sort of polished and out there. And over the weekend, I want to do a little video explaining these kind of 6 possible options. And then I kind of want to test them for a little bit and then kind of do the full release with maybe 2 of them or something like that. Because, some of them just don't make sense. So, in fact, I might even remove them before getting feedback on them. Well, no, it will still, because you shouldn't put a summed cage in your thing and then have a solution that contradicts it, right? Well, actually, no. I'm saying rubbish. It already works like that, and that's why it's kind of broken, because basically the last thing it does, it checks against the solution, and the first thing it does when checking against the solution, it wipes out all the errors it already found so far and ignores basically everything else, right? All right, that's it. Really got to get going. Thank you very much for hanging out. Take care. Have a good day. Have a good evening. Have a good morning. See you in the next